Welcome back. Got to turn on the right microphone. Welcome back to the Schmidt Show here on News Radio 1029 KARN. I am your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276. It's an especially important day today because it's Free Speech Friday. Anything you want to talk about is fair game. We'll talk about any of it, all of it. We'll change the subject. Ask me anything. You've got any questions for me, any things that you simply want to know. We can talk about guns. We can talk about cars. We can talk about politics. We can talk about the weather, sports. It doesn't really matter. Anything you want to talk about today is fair game. So I do have a few things prepared. I do have a few things ready to go. If you want to join the political discussion in one of the headlines I ran across on, I think this is MSN.com, not MSNBC, but MSN.com. Some billionaire investor that I've never heard of, a guy named Ray Dalio, he says the U.S. is on the brink, and we are at more than a 1 in 3 chance of civil war, he says. And so, I mean, maybe. I don't know who this guy is. He looks kind of like, is it Michael or Jeremy Irons, I think is his name. I think is how you say it. It's kind of what he looks like. I don't know if that's any relation or not, but on a 1 in 3 chance that more than 1 in 3 chance it will end up in civil war. And there's part of me that doesn't necessarily disagree with the guy. I mean, think about where we're at coming this fall, November. What do you think happens if Joe Biden wins? What do you think the response will be? Are we going to see another January 6th kind of thing? Is it going to be an accusation of cheating in another stolen election? If Joe Biden wins, or I'm sorry, if Donald Trump wins, are we going to see anything different? Do you think anybody on the left is going to just sit back and go, oh, yeah, no, this is perfectly fair? I guarantee you it's going to be, oh, Trump stole it. They cheated. There's no way he could have won, not after getting beaten so badly the last time around. He had to have lost. Trump had to have cheated. And basically, no matter what happens in November, half of the population is going to go into full meltdown mode, full rage mode. Now, here's the thing. I think it'll actually be worse among the left if Donald Trump wins. I think you're going to see the, screaming at the sky morons out in droves. You're going to see destruction and rioting in Washington, D.C., just like we saw in 2016 when Donald Trump was elected. I think you're going to see destruction and protesting and rioting on college campuses, just like we're seeing right now. I think we're going to see destruction and rioting and looting and all that kind of stuff, just like we saw in St. Louis and Portland, in Seattle, in L.A. I think you're going to see that all over the country. I think it'll actually be much worse if Trump wins than if Biden wins. I think you'll see a few. If Biden ends up winning, I think you'll see a small number, much like you did in 2020, that will express their displeasure. But it really doesn't seem to matter what happens this November. We're facing a significant risk of people going into full on emotional meltdown, if nothing else. 501-403-KRN, 501-403-5276 if you want to get into that discussion so we can talk a little bit about that. Are we facing a civil war? I am absolutely, just for clarification, I am absolutely opposed to engaging in any sort of physical altercation over the election results in November. Now, I will gladly do whatever I need to do to protect myself if I need to, in the event that someone, decides to attack my home or my family or something like that. I will gladly do whatever I need to do to protect myself. And I will always stand up for liberty. but it will be an absolute last resort if something like that happens. So it's not that I'm afraid. It's not that I am willing to just comply and do what you're told, citizen, things like that. But it's just, I fear the ugliness of what that will really look like. 501-403-KRN, 501-403-5276. On a Free Speech Friday, a couple of text messages. One says, so they say that 5HQT blocking the age restriction on books as the library because it discriminates against certain communities. Are they the pedo communities or something? Yeah, I mean, look, that's a whole other discussion, right? This idea that we want to ban books is actually not accurate. Nobody's asking the books to be banned. We're simply saying, hey, if you want these kinds of books, they need to be maybe in a restricted area, right? I mean, just like we do at the truck stops. And I don't know if they even have these anymore at truck stops with the advent of the internet. But, back in the day when you'd pull into a truck stop, there was a magazine rack with those kind of magazines and all the other magazines. And those kind of magazines were usually behind the counter, or they were in plastic bags that had been blacked out on the front, because we all kind of recognize that, yeah, that's probably not the best place for, or the best kind of magazines for children to be able to easily access, right? We understood that pretty simply. Another text one says, what's your take on Sly's watches he is selling? Oh, Sylvester Stallone selling watches. I have not seen them. I've heard this, but I've not seen any of the ones that he's selling. I guess I don't really know much about it. I'm sure a guy like Sly, he's probably got a few Rolexes and maybe a few Patek Philippe's or some of the other high-end luxury watches, but I don't know for sure what he's got available. I'll have to Google it up and take a look at it during the break and see what he's got for sale. I might be willing to bid on them, except the problem is, my guess is any of the watches that Sylvester Stallone owns are likely going to be outside of my price range. And unless he has any Breitlings, I'm not really all that entirely interested, just because I want a Rolex one day, just to say I own a Rolex, probably a Submariner, maybe a Daytona or something like that. But what I really want, my dream watch, is a Breitling Seawolf Avenger. So, Texas magazines at truck stops, are they the dreaded extended magazines we keep hearing about? Yeah, I mean, there's the one particular brand of magazine that does have the extended magazine in the middle, like when you open up the magazine and it folds out of the middle, the extended magazine there. So, yeah, I think they are a few of those extended extended mags. Another says, the left will lose it. Be prepared. Act accordingly. Another texter says, Trump is going to be speaker at the Libertarian Convention this month. Do you think it will win the LP's support? If so, what do you think this will do for the election? I'll get into this in the next segment, because I'm not going to have time to get into it before the break. But Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are both going to be at the convention. Of course, my friend Michael White, a friend of the show, and a guest host here on the Schmidt Show from time to time, he will be there at the Libertarian Convention, and we're definitely going to have him on and reporting back from it. He may, we don't know. I guess I don't know what level of involvement he will have, but I know he's been helping out with one of the presidential candidates, so he may actually be able to be backstage with Trump. I guess I don't know. We're certainly hoping that maybe he'd be able to reach out to President Trump or President Trump's team And so, yeah, we don't really know. But as far as what it will do for the election and whether or not the Libertarian Party will support President Trump is doubtful. But I'll explain a little bit more on that and why as we continue and get into the next segment. But there's a whole lot more to get to. It is Free Speech Friday, so anything you want to talk about today is fair game. We'll get into all of it. Civil War, are we there yet? Sylvester Stallone's watches? We'll see. It's all coming up next on News Radio 102.9 KRN.